Namaste. So now you might be wondering what I'm doing or why I'm wasting my time. So actually I'm thanking the organizers for having me here, but in silence. So silence can be used as a means of communication if you really know how to do it. So we have various ways of communication like this, and verbalism is just one form of it. So out of all these various forms, so one unique form is dance, and we can use dance to express our inner feelings as well as to say what culture is asking us to say and pass to the next generations. So today we focus mainly on one dance form which is culturally very relevant and at the same time practiced as a meditative movement in Vajrayāna Buddhism. So I hope everyone might be knowing, better than me, but I'm just trying to understand these things through science. And our main aim here is to revive the original glory of this dance form, and for that we propose the use of science as a tool. So I want to start with this quote. It's a big one, so I don't think I'll read it. So just look at it. So this is about the greatness of dance, from the time of its origin. Yeah. So before going into the details, so I want everyone to ask, so what is dance? And how did it begin, from the time of its origin? So once we go into the details of how dance evolved or emerged, so looking at the ancient forms of dance, so we can say that, some view dance as a physical manifestation and the reflection of the interplay of subtle elements and at the same time of the fundamental elements which constitute life. So at the same time, so when you look at the dance, so one can also say that the ancient forms are nothing but they emerged out of the intense observation of the phenomena in nature. So these people, so they want to imitate what is happening in the nature, and that's how they started practicing dance. And later, as it evolved, so they started using dance as not only for the imitation purpose, but also to express what they actually feel. So these are all ancient dance forms, depicted in various caves and belonging to the prehistoric period, which is more than 5,000 years back. So the early usage of dance is mainly for the purpose of survival, and it is to get in harmony with nature. So they use these forms as a refuge to protect themselves against civilizations, to grow and to heal. So they believe that through dance, one can channelize the energy to fuse and power in other external entities, and this is how we got the ritualistic dances, in the sacred spiritual rituals. So this is where the Vajra Nrithyam comes into picture. So though it started as a form of expression and understanding nature, so later they used it as a tool to pass the knowledge to the future generations. So though it started as a symbolic imitation of the outside phenomena, so they started using it to express their inner experiences by knowing the inner potential of one's subjective consciousness. So this is how the dance started having, or it can act as an interface between the inner and outer world. So today we introduce one such art form introduced by various cultures, out of which this is really important. So this is practiced as a meditation, as I previously said, and this is practiced as a meditation not only for one's higher attainment, but also for the well-being of all. So this dance form is traditionally called as Cham or Vajra Nrithyam or Lama dance. So what is Vajra Nrithyam? So in Tibet, Cham means dance, and Vajra Nrithyam is derived from the tradition from which it is actually manifested. And Nrityam means dance. So that's how the Vajra Nrithyam name came together. So the beauty with this dance form is that the mysticism associated with various modalities of Buddhism and its forms are accessed through this dance form in a way which visual art and meditation alone cannot. So when you look at the history of Vajra Nrithyam, I'm thankful to the previous speaker because he mentioned a little about the dance form, the history of it, that it is first performed by the Indian saint Padmasambhava, who is famously known as Guru Rinpoche. When he was invited to Tibet by King Dedzhen for the inception of Samye Monastery. So he was invited there to subdue the evil forces, which are obstructing the construction of this monastery. So he did various rituals there. He drew, lines invoking his tantric and spiritual powers. Then he wore a different attire dress, which is called as Janak dress, and then performed all these mudras, invoking the Chamara god, who is the main deity of this. And this dance, as everyone knows, it is famously called as Vajra Kilaya, or the dance of the dagger. So after this first performance, it started spreading throughout all the Tibetan monasteries, and I don't go into the details of other historical stories, but the one thing which is very important is, so it is believed that Guru Padmasambhava gave a dream vision to Guru Chaozwang, and in this dream, so he saw 8 different faces. With amazing architecture, you can call it that way. So he derived or he drew all these 8 faces, since he's a good artist. So after his dream, and then he got masks, made by people, and then he asked monks to start performing. And this is how the Vajra Nrithyam is actually introduced to the world. So as everyone knows, this is how they look like. So now we look at Vajra Nrithyam as a meditative movement. So it is a ritualistic offering to the gods, and the whole process and its practice is considered as a form of meditation. So the movements involved here are tantric yoga rites, and they are according to the prescribed meditation techniques. So it remained as a very secret practice till 20th century, and it's not open for the public. So only monks and lamas used to practice it as a sacred meditative ritual. So it often depicts the story of different gurus like Padmasambhava, Nyingmapa, etc. So it offers moral instructions of compassion for all sentient beings and bring merit to all those who perceive it. So this is the belief. And so I don't go into the detailed history of it, because you can refer to our paper where we mention about all these things. So I'll go into the important part of it. So they use the process of visualization, during this process to invoke deities, and you have various stages as to how they do that. And in this context, I look for Professor Maria's talk in the next section, which will give me important references. So, it's believed that by the time monks start the actual performance, they would have invoked the deity within and the respective deity, and hence they perform as deities. And by the end of the performance, they'll be completely in an altered state. So this is what got our attention, and we actually want to see whether this is happening, through the science, and want to say everyone that yes, what they're saying, it makes sense. So we have various attributes and aspects of Vajra Nrithyam, and we have great variety of it also. And this is one important point, where it is believed in the tradition that even simple witnessing of these sacred movements in deep contemplation can bring one closer to enlightenment. It means that it not only benefits the one who is actually performing the dance, so it also benefits the audience or the observer who is deeply involved in those movements. So we want to prove this point also through the use of neuroscience. And I'll be telling what all things we are doing or planning to do. So this is the initial procession during Vajra Nrithyam. So I don't want to talk about it, because everyone is well aware of this, so how it goes. So we have various masks and colors, each one having various functional purposes, and each one is very unique, having its own representation. So these are the different instruments we use, again, with different functional purposes. So now the important thing is, so before talking about this, so we should understand the contemporary status of this, and also what are the points which need the critical attention at present. So when we look at these details, so we found that these are the major reasons. Of course, we have many other reasons. So the one is the Tibetan diaspora. So as everyone knows, because of this, the political instability in the country, so monks who are the soul of the country, so they all, started moving away from this place, and that's how, got displaced or dispersed to different regions of the world. And this is how the ancient dance was on a run, and it's in a diaspora. So there is also a lack of documentation and the number of practitioners. So ancient dances, not only Vajra Nrithyam, but we have many practices like this. So they are not written, but passed on from person to person. So if this is the case, what if we have only few elderly people who actually understand why the cultures or why different cultures, conceived these forms or created these forms. So because of this, so once it is not documented and the few elderly people are gone, so then we lose the whole purpose of it, and then we may have a different perspective of it altogether. And so the other one is the economic reasons. So citing these economic reasons, so nowadays people are not willing to send, they're not having more children, and then they are not willing to send their children to monasteries to become as a monk. So because of that, so many consider this to be one reason why, we have few number of people who are actually interested in, keeping up this tradition. So, and the other thing, which is very important thing, is the contemporarization. So we have a change in attitude of people as to how they look at these traditional aspects. So nowadays, these performances are just played to the gallery, in the sense, so they just play according to the situation and the context. So at once, so it was a very secret practice, but now it is, it has become public. So people are much worried about how public see the performance. So instead of going with its original actual sacredness, so these people are more interested in other things where they want to make other people feel good or things like that. So this is how the different things coming up. And apart from that, the other important thing is the dilution. So when we go for the dilution, in a sense, when we want to evolve according to the present situation, so we dilute the original forms. So this may be perfectly okay with the symbolic dances, which are only symbolic and representing, just the story and things like that. But this is not good, or this is not really applicable to a practice like Vajra Nrithyam, which is not just a symbolic. It's doing something really important at the subtle levels of our consciousness. So now we want to use science as a revival tool. So since it is actually dying as a spiritual art form, though it is there and performed like a normal art, so we want to bring or revive the original glory of it. So for this, so we propose different experiments by which we can prove through science the various claims that people say regarding this dance, as to how a performer enters into an altered state, and at the same time how an observer observing these movements can also go into an altered state. And for this, the best inspiration for us is His Holiness the present Dalai Lama. So in a council of Nobel laureates, so he made a statement. If scientific analysis were conclusive to demonstrate certain claims in Buddhism to be false, then we must accept the findings of science and abandon those claims.
Sorry to interrupt you. 1 minute more.
1 minute? Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah. So this is how he, trust science. So we take this statement, further to experiment whether what is happening with Vajra Nrithyam is true or not. So once you prove it through science, so the present youth or many people started following it or giving importance to it. So one reason is that the best example is a meditation. So because of his statement, many people started to understand or conducted so many studies to understand the neuroscience of meditation. And because of that, so many studies claim the importance of meditation for various purposes, and then it became very famous in the West. So we want to do the same thing with the Vajra Nrithyam and see what are the experiential states of a performer and at the same time that of the observer. So for that we use this model, which is the resonance phenomena of the inner experiential model. So me and my colleague previously published a paper on this model. So it's a theoretical one, so which shows or explains the phenomena by which both the performer and the observer could enter into the same state of subjective experience. So this is not evident at the immediate thing. So we are proposing that the moment you observe thing very deeply, you and the performer both can enter into the same state of subjective experience. So it's like Rumi's poetry, where there is no observer or no performer, but only the act of dance. So through science, we have various experiments already conducted on the feelings or the emotions or the expressions of a performer and observer. So we use these studies and then propose this theoretical model. So for example, if I have to tell what happens exactly and how it works, so we have something called kinesthetic empathy. So you can actually go and search about this. This is a very new term now.
I'm sorry, time is up.
So just a minute.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead, conclude.
Yeah. So the kinesthetic empathy is becoming empathetic to someone's movements. So a performer is performing, consciously his movements, and because of that, so the areas connected in the brain with the somatics become active. So the moment you become one with the movements of the performer, so you will have the same brain activity, in the sense you too will have same or similar type of subjective experience. So this is how the model works. And and we have more elements of exploration. And for that purpose, so now we have two important things. One is to make a documentary film on Vajra Nrithyam, so where we go for the history and all other epistemological things. And the other side, we want to prove it through science and promote it in a way, so that many people will start giving really importance, not just like a dance performance, but as a sacred movement. Yeah, so the conclusion is that we want to use we want to use science as a tool, and we want to look at culture through science. So that's what the thing. And so I want to end with this. Okay. No. I just,
okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Shashi, Kiran, Reddy, for your presentation.
Yeah. So, 1 minute, just a minute. So, so this is a group looking for me to finish off the talk. They are very happy that I finished it. And this is connected with Vajra Nrithyam, these masks and things. And so we want to acknowledge core of culture for their dedication to revive all these ancient traditions. And we got the support through these organizations. And we are planning to make a documentary, as I said.
Sorry to interrupt you. We are running behind time. Sorry.